A very good evening and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I am Ifoma Washington. The federal government has approved a $3.02 billion contract for the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway with new branch lines and transshipment facilities. The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, announced this while briefing journalists after the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. He said approval has also been granted for the construction of a deep sea port in Bonny as well as a railway industrial park in Port Harcourt.
The industrial park, which is under PP at no cost to the federal government, will cost $389.31 million. Then the Bonny Deep Sea Port will cost $369 million at no cost to the federal government. I want to repeat that.
The Federal Executive Council today approved the contract for the procurement and installation of automotive mechatronic equipment for the automotive mechatronic training center facilities in 6 geopolitical zones of the country and the FCT. The Automotive Development and Design Council has recorded a lot of success in bringing back assembly and manufacturing operations in the automotive sector. As a result of this, the proposed training centers will not only train Nigerians to maintain and service vehicles, but will also ensure that avoidable disasters arising from lack of skills by our teaming youth are prevented through periodic training and empowerment at an affordable cost.
Also, on behalf of the Minister for Works and Housing, I want to report that his memo for the completion of the rehabilitation of the Abeokuta-Ibadan Road, a distance of 72 kilometers, was approved today. It's actually it was a memo asking for augmentation by 788 million naira.
President Muhammadu Buhari has restated that all necessary measures have been put in place to ensure that the October 10 gubernatorial election in Ondo State is peaceful, transparent and credible. In a statement, the president assured the electorate in Ondo of the provision of adequate security to forestall any breach of the peace by unscrupulous elements. In a video message to party supporters at the grand finale of the All Progressives Congress APC campaign for the Ondo governorship election, the president also urged the electorate to turn out en masse to vote on Saturday without fear of molestation. The governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, has approved the appointment of Alhaji Ahmed Nuhu Bamali as the 19th Emir of Zazzau. In a statement, the Emir succeeded His Royal Highness Alhaji Dr. Shehu Idris, who died on Sunday, 20th September 2020, after reigning for 45 years. Alhaji Bamali is the first Emir from the Malawa ruling house in 100 years, following the demise in 1920 of his grandfather, Emir Nsidi. Until his appointment as Emir of Zazzau, Alhaji Ahmed Nuhu Bamali held the title of Magajin Gari Zazzau and served as Nigeria's ambassador to Thailand with concurrent accreditation to Myanmar. He has been a permanent commissioner in the Kaduna State Independent Electoral Commission in 2015. He has worked in banking and as executive director and later acting managing director of the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Corporation. He was a staff of the Abuja Metropolitan Management Agency before a stint as head of human resources at MTEL, the mobile communications arm of the old Nigerian Telecommunications Limited, NITEL. Born in 1966, Alhaji Bamali studied law at the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. He holds a master's degree in international relations and diplomacy and a diploma in organizational leadership from Oxford University. He is also a fellow on Conflict Resolution of the University of York, United Kingdom. On behalf of the Kaduna State Government, Malam Nasir El-Rufai has congratulated His Royal Highness Alhaji Ahmed Nuhu Bamali on his appointment and wished him a successful and peaceful reign as Emir of Zazzau. Now, Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer Office, personnel of universities and research establishments across the country can now seamlessly and effectively collaborate and share experiences to improve the nation's culture of intellectual property protection. This comes as the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion trains coordinators nationwide to enable them key into the newly established reform and database for information sharing. Justin Bem-Unyi reports.
Realizing that the country has a weak culture of protecting intellectual property rights, NOTAP, in collaboration with the World Intellectual Property Organization, established Intellectual Property Technology Transfer Offices, IPTTO, in universities and research institutes to have an on-the-spot promotion of identification and protection of research findings. Now, with the COVID-19 ravaging the world, NOTAP has developed a platform to virtually bring together these officers and coordinators of IPTTO across Nigerian universities and research institutions to build an interactive avenue to facilitate access and synergy among these officers.
Yeah, and there has been significant improvement, honestly. Patent requests have already started coming, increasingly becoming prominent in their activities. So the essence is, yes, when they are doing their jobs, you need to also improve on their performances.
The issue of patenting has really been a major challenge. You see, some don't really know how to file in this patent form and how to take their innovations for patenting. So this training is also going to help and equip the directors on how to go about the patenting.
NOTAP is impressed that reports of 2019 indicated a 65% of patent certificates issued in Nigeria came through the agency, and this is an indication the intervention and efforts to promote the protection of intellectual property in the country is working. In Abuja, Justin Bem-Unyi, NTA News.
Okay. Now, reactions have continued to trail the ban of the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, FSAS, and other tactical units from patrols and checkpoints. Guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria are calling for a holistic reform of FSAS and other tactical units in the Nigeria Police Force for national security. The guests who are discussing the reform of FSAS are optimistic that all wrongs connection to the operations of FSAS can be corrected. Olusheye Adiabo reports.
Most of the allegations against SARS and police in general have to do with extrajudicial killing. We also have complaints that have to do with the use of torture, cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. Other complaints that we receive deal with extortion.
Abdurrahman Ainde Yakubu, Director Civil and Political Rights Department of the National Human Rights Commission, explaining some of the common complaints received as regards activities of the men of the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, FSAS. Talking from experience, former Inspector General of Police shared his view on factors responsible, adding that FSAS operations in Nigeria is very necessary to ensuring the security of every Nigerian.
Let us not use an incident to completely criticize and almost condemn all the good things that fine police officers, including SARS officers, have been doing.
All the guests on the program, however, gave suggestions on what will be required in the reformation process of FSAs and other tactical units.
The accountability processes within the Nigerian police force is not strong, which also affects oversight and supervisory responsibilities of the senior officers.
So there's a disconnect between what the law says and the practice. And I think the disconnection is in terms of training and retraining.
Responses from NTA GMN Twitter Andrew also agreed with comments from the guests welcoming the reforms in hopes of a better Nigerian police. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA News.
Nigeria's enormous housing deficit is to be depleted soon, as 3,600 citizens are set to become house owners with the ongoing construction of mass houses in Yobe State. Yunusa Suleiman reports that for the first time in the history of the state, such mass houses are being constructed to target not only public servants, but all eligible Nigerians.
They say it's a basic human need, and that everyone needs a roof over their heads.
As Nigeria's population keeps growing, so the demand for shelter keeps increasing, something which policymakers, real estate managers, investors and analysts in many fora say the country's huge housing deficit is unacceptably high and therefore called for action to arrest the situation. Perhaps it was for this reason that the federal government is said to be determined to provide affordable housing for all, particularly under its national housing program, as a strategic imperative to drastically reduce the existing housing deficit in the country and to guarantee the well-being of Nigerians. This effort is further being complemented by the Yobe State government in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Finance-funded Family Homes Limited, as it commenced the construction of 3,600 housing units spread across the 70 local government areas of the state, designed to advance the objective of the government in providing access to safe and affordable shelter to the people on a mass scale. With work already reaching an appreciable level of completion, the houses comprising 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom apartments and will also have facilities such as schools, police outposts, fire service stations and mini markets among others within them.
This is a welcome development to our dear state. This house is going to be a beneficiary to the less privileged people like me.
It was gathered that the project is being executed with emphasis on local content and resources, a move that is meant to boost the local economy and create more job opportunities to the teeming youth in the state. The multi-billion naira housing project, according to many, is a step forward towards actualizing the Housing for All initiative of the federal government. In Damatru, Yunusa Suleiman, NTA News.
Indeed, a very good development there, given the fact that it is the season of World Habitat Day, a day set aside to underscore the need for a better planned and functioning towns and cities. As United Nations says, more than 850 million people live in slums or informal settlements. You will agree with me that it's quite a large number. Now let me bring in architect Umaru Aliyu, a former president, Architects Registration Council of Nigeria. Welcome to Nationwide, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, tell us, how did the world manage to get such a large number, of people living in slums and unplanned settlements?
Well, living in slums, unplanned settlement is an offshoot of characteristics, features, what we have ignored, what we have failed to do as citizens of our various countries. But I get worried when I hear in Nigeria we are told that there are housing deficits. So I ask myself, I said, how did we get that statistics? From where? Go around everywhere, go to Lagos, go even here in Abuja. Are people sleeping on the road? You find buildings not occupied. I want to say that from 2003 to date, while I was in service in 2003, was when this idea of housing deficit started, because attempt was being made to get the so-called private sector to get into construction instead of government doing its own thing. So they fabricated, it's a fabrication
Okay.
It's a fabrication. There is no iota, no basis for that at all.
At all.
At all, at all. I challenge those who said so at conferences. I say, show me the data. The Federal Ministry of Housing is the custodian. Federal Ministry of Housing did not have that record. Some people came together and thought that they would make deals out of it. Unfortunately, we have some people from outside drumming it into us that we have housing deficits.
Okay.
When you construct, you are improving the local economy. The effect trickles down. So it is a welcome development. But to say we have a housing deficit is a fraud.
Okay, now let's talk about the theme for this year's the celebration of the World Habitat Day, which is Housing for All, a better urban future. How realistic is this, especially here in Nigeria?
Well, I want to put it in this other way. I'm not going to say whether realistic or not, but any move to provide access to decent accommodation is welcome. And the effect is that the economy booms and it trickles down to the groundnut seller, pure water seller, and so on. So it's a welcome development.
Now, structural inequalities have been highlighted by COVID-19 pandemic. How do we address this in Nigeria?
Well, again, it's all part of our attitude. Yes, it is true, we all come from villages and so on. We are not sleeping on the road. We have structures there that were made from local materials. All that is required is to improve on it and make it decent.
Okay.
You discover that part of the reason why COVID-19 was able to spread fast was because of our inhygienic environment. So, with that realization now, it is very important for all and sundry. Thank God we have all structures in place to make sure that all our professionals involved in the development of the environment are deliberately, through affirmative action, empowered to be able to provide for what the nation needs. It behoves on our ministers now. The president has signed, say, go and work. So we expect, for example, Right Honorable Amechi, for example, the railway works that are going to take place, to engage us, the professionals. We are waiting. Nobody is going to take us to China. They will not accept us. It has been provided for us here. Right, Honorable Amechi, please. We are waiting.
All right, thank you so very much, Architect Umaru Aliyu, former President, Architect Registration Council of Nigeria. Thanks for coming on Nationwide.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, let's now join Abdullahi Mohammed, who is in Zaria, to give us the latest of what is happening at the Zazzau Emirates. Okay, we sincerely apologize for that. We seem to be having some audio problem connecting with Abdullahi there. But let's go to Lagos, where Hingino has more Nationwide. Hello, Hingino.
Hello, Ifoma. The third mainland bridge, Lagos, will be totally closed from midnight of Friday 9th October 2020 to midnight of Sunday 11th October 2020. The Federal Ministry of Works in a statement says the total closure is to allow contractors finish the first stage of casting works. Now to security matters. The Lagos State Police Command has expressed its readiness to combat criminal activities before and during the Yuletide. The Police Commissioner Hakeem Odumosu disclosed some crime-fighting strategies at an interactive session with divisional heads of Ejigbo District and the media. Adeola Komiakere reports.
The meeting was inspired by unfolding reforms contained in the Nigeria Police Bill 2020, recently signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari. The clauses demand effective policing driven by the principles of transparency and accountability in operations and management of resources. Against this backdrop, the Commissioner of Police, Hakeem Odumosu, charged heads of divisions in Ejigbo to intensify efforts at protecting the rights of citizens and their safety.
Not all police, not only SARS this time around, should venture into the privacy of law-abiding citizens, that is checking their phones, checking their laptops. It is infringing on their privacy. If they are receiving for a phone to be checked in the course of investigation now, definitely the investigation must have commenced. They may receive for that, and that will be within the police environment.
Representatives of Ejigbo community appreciated the federal government for prioritizing security matters. They pledged their unalloyed support to the Lagos Police Command within the limits of their mandate as citizens.
To tackle criminality, there are so many procedures. We have raid, we have patrols, we have stop and search, we have cultivation of information from informants. These are the things we put in place.
We're confident that Nigerian police is the good officials. They are there for them to make sure that all the nooks and crannies of Ejigbo will be well secured.
The Lagos Police Command also assured residents of a peaceful Yuletide as adequate preparations have been made to guarantee protection of lives and property. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakere, NTA News.
Talking economy now. For the Nigerian economy to remain competitive at national and subnational levels, policymakers must keep formulating the right fiscal, monetary and regulatory framework that will facilitate growth. President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry stated this at a media briefing on the state of the economy. Abolade Salami reports.
With most economies of the world gradually smarting out of the coronavirus impact, the Nigerian economy is being galvanized by the federal government through a series of intervention programs. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has called on policymakers to work out modalities that will serve as shocks to revamp the economy from the impact of COVID-19.
There should be safeguards to protect consumers from exploitation. There should be comprehensive metering of consumers, and there should be value for money.
The proactive measures taken by the Central Bank of Nigeria on the reduction of monetary policy rates from 12.5% to 11.5% as at September 2020 MPC meeting, the Chamber noted further stimulated credit flow, thereby boosting growth and moderating the pressure on domestic prices.
Well, the fiscal authorities have been doing its best within the limits of its resources. Because the biggest challenge that the fiscal authorities have now is limitation as far as resources are concerned.
The Chamber, however, commended the federal government's strive towards repositioning the economy on the path of sustained growth. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
We now take a break. Nationwide will be back with Chinyere in Enugu.
Thank you so much for joining us in Enugu. I am Chinenye Nwoye. Enugu State Government says it is prepared to render every necessary support to the National Population Commission as it carries out its mandate in the state to ensure a credible and dependable population database that can aid future economic planning in the state. Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi gave this assurance when zonal officers of the commission visited to brief him on the planned enumeration area demarcation exercise scheduled for 5th to 29th October 2020. Susan Eze has details.
Information, no doubt, is very critical in the facilitation of economic development and planning. Governor Ugwuanyi, represented by the deputy, notes that the mandate of the National Population Commission is very critical to good governance and national planning.
The organization of a successful, accurate, and acceptable national head count should attract the support of every patriot. Knowing its implication for the enthronement of balanced national development and equity in the country.
Highlighting the need to get it right in the Enumeration Area Demarcation Exercise, EAD, the Federal Commissioner, Ejike Eze, noted that a poorly conducted EAD eventually results in inaccurate data during the census proper. Enugu State, he said, was a victim of this development in 2006.
We hereby pray for the state government assist in the area of sensitization of the Enugu State citizenry, support the Enugu State Office of the National Population Commission to provide transportation to EAD functionaries, particularly those working in the remote areas of the states.
National Population Commission is currently conducting enumeration area demarcation in 25 states of the Federation, including Enugu State, where 6 local government areas have been covered. In Enugu, Susan Eze, NTA News.
Some teachers and key players in the education sector in Enugu State have commended President Muhammadu Buhari for approving a new salary structure for teachers in basic and secondary schools and for the extension of teachers' retirement age from 60 to 65 years, as well as length of years in service from 35 to 40 years.
Represented by the Minister of Education, President Buhari, who announced a special package for teachers at this year's World Teachers' Day celebrations, said it was to attract and retain the best brains in the teaching profession and change the face of teaching and education in the country. Describing the gesture as a special Teachers' Day gift from the President, some respondents who spoke said,
"Good omen for the education industry, actually, because it will assist us to tap fully the resources of our teachers who have cognate experience. It is our hope that the policy declaration is implemented. I am sure that Mr. President will liaise with all the governors to be on the same page.
Teachers are ready to put in their best to make sure that the President is not disappointed.
At 35 years, you are a bundle of experience. That is where your service will be more impactful. Do you understand? Because just they said, experience is the best teacher. So having we received this news with delight, and in short, it's one good thing the presidency has done for teachers.
Among other things approved by the President were the building of low-cost houses for teachers in rural areas and for the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, to make financial provisions for teaching practice in universities and colleges of education. It was also the views of the respondents that Nigerian teachers truly deserve these kind gestures from the President, as they have continued to exhibit unmatched resilience, perseverance, and selflessness in the discharge of their duties.
And that is it from Enugu. We will now rejoin Ifoma in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Thank you very much, Chinenye. Now, deregulation of the downstream oil sector has dominated discussions on the economic landscape of the country in recent times, following the federal government's decision to end inefficiencies and ensure supply and price stability in the industry. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that stakeholders on NTA's Current Affairs program Tuesday Live resonated frontiers for full utilization of the benefits inherent in the new regime.
To fully deregularize the downstream oil sector are said to have fallen short of required national needs. To address that and to further entrench best practices, the federal government removed subsidy which is said to have gulped about 10 trillion naira from 2006 to 2018 and deprived the country of launching itself on the steady path of growth.
It will be very difficult for us to sustain subsidy. We spend trillions of naira every year to subsidize, and it allows for fraudulent practices, hoarding. Many people just submit papers whereas they did not import anything.
Once there are many players in a market, right, the chances are that everybody is striving to get the best. Even when you think of, okay, these are private businesses and their objective is profit.
A regime of borrowing to service subsidy in the industry is now left in the hands of market forces to determine supply and prices of the products, while availability has replaced perennial scarcity experienced in the past, forcing fuel stations to shut down or shortchanged consumers.
For all of these years as well that we're subsidizing petroleum products, we were borrowing. And in many of those years, government was borrowing us at double digits, as high as 18%. So if you do the mathematics, you can easily conclude today that the entire debt portfolio we have as a country would not have been there if we didn't have fuel subsidy in the past, say, 15 years.
The experts are of the opinion that resuscitation of helium refineries, which will regulate fluctuations and impact of pricing and make funds available for sustainable development, should be given top priority. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Asmao is standing by with more reports in our Sokoto Network Center. Hello, Asmao.
Hello, Ifoma. Good evening and welcome to Sokoto. Worried by the perennial flooding that ravaged many parts of Sokoto State this year, and in fulfillment of pledges he made to several affected communities for a robust dry season farming scheme, Governor Emir of Zazzau has set up a high-powered committee to design a workable strategy to that effect. Dalhat Abdullahi has more.
The committee is detailed to come up with a framework to mitigate the effect of flooding experienced in the state through dry season farming. The committee is to be headed by the district head of Kilgori, Dr. Muhammadu Jakbi, with commissioners of agriculture, environment, animal health, and water resources as members. Other members include General Manager, Sokoto Agricultural Development Project, Director General, Commodity Board, Provost, College of Agriculture, Wurno, representatives of IFAD and Fadama 3 projects, with Ahmadu Bello University Zaria and Usman Danfodio University Sokoto to play consultancy roles on the matter. The committee has 3 weeks to submit its report. In Sokoto, Dalhat Abdullahi, NTA News.
The Tsafe Area Commander of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in Zamfara State has made an arrest and seizure of large consignments of assorted illicit drugs worth millions of naira. The drugs being conveyed to Gusau were discovered in a truck intercepted by men of the agency following a tip-off. Sadia Bakatuno has more.
It was a milestone achievement by the Tsafe Commander of the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency, as it made an unprecedented arrest and seizure of assorted illicit drugs, which are generally believed to be fueling banditry and other related crimes in Zamfara State. The assorted drugs include 185 kilograms of cannabis sativa, 11.5 kilograms of Hypnox, 310 kilograms of Exol 5, and 59 kilograms of codeine syrup, among others. The NDLEA commander, Zamfara State Command, Jibril Adamu Igege, who briefed newsmen on the development, explained that the drugs worth millions of naira were discovered in a Mercedes-Benz truck with registration number Anambra XY 200 FGG, which was intercepted by men of the agency along Gusau Sokoto Road based on actionable intelligence.
Thank God for this seizure. Otherwise, Zamfara State would have been in trouble. They are trouble. You can imagine that we are trying to douse the fire now of insecurity in Zamfara State.
The feat receives accolades from government and traditional institutions in the state.
I'm sure some people might have taunted them with some money, but they refused to budge. So we are grateful to them.
We are ready to provide anything needed to make their operation successful.
Meanwhile, 2 persons have been arrested in connection with the crime and are currently being interrogated for further action. In Gusau, Sadia Abubakar Snow, NTA News.
And that is our package from Sokoto. The news will continue with Ugo Chukwuka in Benin right after these messages. Please.
Thank you for staying tuned, and straight up to politics. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has advised officers and men of the police deployed for Saturday's governorship election in Ondo State to be professional and follow strictly the standard requirements for a peaceful election. He was addressing officers and men at the Ondo State Police Command. Olubumi Iroju reports.
The Inspector General Mohammed Adamu, while addressing officers of the Ondo State Police Command, said the rationale behind the deployment of officers to the state is to tap from the experiences garnered in the recently concluded Edo election and also to proactively respond to the outcome of the intelligence reports arising from the election threat assessment.
If anything should happen at the collection center and the collection is disrupted, the officers that are posted at the collection centers will be held responsible.
The performance of Nigerian police force during the Edo governorship election, which to many is seen as the best the police have done, we promise to surpass this in excellent forms.
The Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of research and planning at Deleye Oyibade was deployed to Ondo State by the Inspector General of Police to supervise the general security arrangement before, during, and after the election. In Akure, Olubumi Irojo, NTA News.
And now, on environment matters, parts of Edo State have in the past weeks been ravaged by flood, destroying farmlands and other property. The state government has been speaking on the developments and the next line of action. Continuous rainfall and overflow of River Niger led to the flooding of the over 10 communities, including Anegbete, Udaba, Usunegbe in Esako Central. It has rendered residents homeless and farmlands washed away.
But in Anegbete here, we have relations. We can pack it to their houses.
This year, I call worst pass. Last year, we no come up for this house, so we did cover everywhere. But this year, now we pack come out. Both sides we have for the money till they feed my children. Now we cover it.
Ilushi community in Edo Central is also affected.
Some all farm will do. Some rice we don't sell it. Nothing we get now.
Benin is also having its fair share of the situation, especially with the downpour experienced continuously in the last few days. State Commissioner for Environment and Sustainability, Alex Oleje, told NTA News that government is doing all it can to mitigate the effects.
We have already mobilized the engineers to the area affected, because when we got the report, we quickly reported to the appropriate quarter. The issue of palliative, that one will be actually carried out, because they have found their houses and all have been submerged. We saw it ourselves, and by His grace, the governor will do something.
Government is calling on residents to desilt gutters, canals and moats in their domain and pay serious attention to the warning by the federal government and desist from dumping refuse indiscriminately. And that's it from here. Informa is back to you for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Ogochukwuka. Now, reports just reaching us states that the U.S.-based International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, headed by Professor William Park, ordered Interocean to pay the federal government of Nigeria $660,129 United States dollars and 87 cents as reimbursement of its share of the arbitration costs incurred in the proceedings. The tribunal also absolves the federal government of Nigeria from any liability, maintaining that Nigeria did not breach any of its obligations in the contract agreement with Interocean Development Company and Interocean Oil Exploration Company. This is contained in a statement issued by Dr. Umar Jibrilu Gwandu, Special Assistant on Media and Public Relations, Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, which was made available to newsmen in Abuja on Wednesday, 7th day of October 2020. The oil companies that has among its legal team Dr. Olasupo Shashore, SAN, requested, among other reliefs from the tribunal, directing the federal government of Nigeria, its relevant privies and instrumentalities to pay aggravated damages in an amount to be proven during these arbitral proceedings, which the claimants estimated as being $1.5 billion United States dollars. According to the statement, the judgment, which was delivered yesterday, the tribunal finds that the federal government of Nigeria has not breached its obligation towards claimants under Nigerian law or under international law. The tribunal finds no liability on the part of respondents in connection with claimants' loss of control over their investment, Pan-Ocean. The judgment reads in part commenting on the development. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami SAN, described the judgment as an addition to the multiple success stories recorded in international litigations by the Federal Ministry of Justice. Malami, who renewed commitment to patriotically and relentlessly discharge his constitutional mandate in the best interest of the nation and general public, said gone was such an era of connivance to deprive the nation of its resources for gratifying ulterior motives of vested interests at the expense of the Nigeria populace. Now, the Senate has approved the 2021-2023 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. The consideration of the document followed the submission of the report of Senate Joint Committee on Finance and National Planning, which proposes federal government's 2021 budget total expenditure of 13.08 trillion, 1.86 million barrels per day, exchange rate of 379 naira to a dollar, and oil benchmark of $40 per barrel. Senate is to investigate alleged cases of brutality by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. The motion by Senator Oluremi Tinubu also called on the National Human Rights Commission to investigate accompanying human rights abuses and for security agencies to establish a special bureau for the monitoring and sanctioning of activities of its erring members, and also commended the Inspector General of Police for his swift reaction to some of the latest reported cases of brutality by the operatives by redefining their duties and not necessarily to scrap the units. The legislators insist on the arrest and prosecution of those involved in the latest incident. Meanwhile, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawal, announced that the presentation of the 2021 budget by President Muhammadu Buhari will be devoid of the usual large number of government officials that usually accompany such exercise. This is in line with the COVID-19 safety measures. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the presentation of the 2021 appropriation bill to a joint session of the National Assembly will be in compliance with COVID-19 protocols. While reading the President's communication on the budget's presentation to the lawmakers during plenary on Wednesday, the Speaker says the presentation will be abridged to ensure conclusion of the exercise within an hour or less. Meanwhile, the House has adopted a motion from House Leader Alhassan Adodogwa on the need to put a stop to alleged dehumanizing activities of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigeria Police Force. The Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the House will work with the Nigeria Bar Association, civil society organizations, and other Nigerians to draft a new law that provides a system of accountability and hold erring members of the police to account. Now, following intelligence reports Wednesday morning that the members of the proscribed Islamic movement in Nigeria, popularly known as Shiites, were undertaking a protest from Nasarawa into Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory Police Command swiftly deployed operatives to Nasarawa FCT boundary to forestall breakdown of law and order. Ilyasu Notu Yakubu brings us details.
The development resulted into extra clog of traffic at the Nyanya axis along the FCT Nasarawa boundary.
Many civil servants residing at the Karumaraba-Nyanya Kefi axis and a host of others were still making efforts to find their way to their workplaces as at midday due to the police checkpoint.
I got the information that shared protesters have the intention of storming Abuja today. I haven't seen any one of them, and but as you can see yourself, the road is totally blocked here. A lot of passengers are behind. A lot of buses are still behind.
I entered bike. We reached them. We were reaching there. There's mud goes through. I cannot go with bike. I have to trek with my feet down here now. So it's a very bad experience.
The FCT police, however, said the operation was inevitable to prevent unnecessary chaos by miscreants who by law have been proscribed.
Our area is very, very calm. The situation is calm. They couldn't penetrate. And from the intelligence we got, they have dispersed. They couldn't enter into our city center. And within the city center, we also directed all our DPOs to beef off their buffer zones. Already we have existing buffer zones. Any gathering of more than 10 persons, they should be dispersed.
The command enjoined law-abiding citizens to go about their lawful businesses as it is on top of the situation. In Abuja, Iliasu Onotu Yakubu, NTA News.
The Nigerian Television Authority has again expressed readiness to partner with organizations to strengthen national integration and promote peace and unity in Nigeria. The Executive Director Admin, Steve Igbo, re-emphasized this while receiving members of the Youth Goal for Peace project on behalf of the Director General of the NTA, Alika Okmanachi Arua, reports.
Youth Goal for Peace project is seeking support from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, to further sensitize citizens of the country on the need to come together as one, irrespective of tribe or religion, to move the nation forward.
If we can play as a team, we will defeat all of our common enemy, be it insecurity, be it ignorance, be it poverty, whatever it is that is a common enemy to Nigeria.
Executive Director Admin, Steve Igbo, pledged NTA's readiness to go the extra mile to ensure the goal and objectives of the group is realized.
I am happy that despite the problems we face, despite the impediments, the handicaps, there are still young people who believe in the project called Nigeria.
In the same vein, Nigeria is Possible Group is also seeking NTA's collaboration in promoting peace and unity to strengthen national integration.
As we are heading into a new phase of our nation, this message is something that the whole nation needs, and Nigerians both at home and in the diaspora would need it.
The group was received on behalf of the DG by the Executive Director Marketing, who reaffirmed the support of the authority to the goal of the group.
This is a call for every one of us. It's not only for the youth, but I'm most happy that it's coming from the youth, who are the future of this country.
The visit of the two groups is part of activities to mark Nigeria's 60th independence anniversary in Abuja. Alika Okmanachi Arua, NTA News.
Public relations practitioners in the country have been identified as nation builders whose expertise can accelerate sustainable national development and growth. This position took center stage at the induction of new members of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations Federal Capital Territory Chapter. Haman Jabani reports.
Institute of Public Relations, established in 1963, attained the status of a chartered institute in June 1990. Public relations experts not only focus on information flow to the public, but save and maintain an organization's reputation and image. This is what public relations experts here believe the induction of 250 new members will bring their expertise to government at all levels if they are deployed appropriately can be achieved.
Let there be communication all through. There is no problem that communication does not solve. In fact, at the root of every problem is either the absence, the lack of communication, or the inadequacy of it.
So public relations is the best professional group to ensure that that is done. Enhancing the communication. Nigerians talk to themselves at various strata of the Nigerian society to ensure that we act as one single entity.
It's a profession that no organization can do without. So, as public relations officers, they are encouraged to discharge their responsibilities to the best of their abilities and responsibly.
Starting from a cub reporter to the level I rose before I retired as an assistant director, I think I have a lot of things to share, a lot in common to share with members of the Institute.
The Institute meeting, which is the first since July, tasked members to observe COVID-19 protocols and that a committee has been set up to look into the problem of recertification faced by all chapters. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
And now sports. Super Eagles